The laptop slams, shut so hard the table shakes. Mara's hand is still flat on the lid when the front door opens behind her. Whoa, Minyu stops in the doorway, keys still in his fist. You good? Fine, she doesn't turn around. Just bills. He watches her a second too long before he moves, sets the keys down, doesn't ask again. That's the part she notices, not the question. The way he lets it go, too easily, like he already knows what she's looking at and would rather not find out if she knows too. She waits until she hears the shower running before she opens the laptop back up. The statement is still on the screen. Third page. Same line she's been staring at for 20 minutes. A recurring charge. Same amount, give or take a few dollars. Same day of the month, every month, going back at least a year. She hasn't scrolled far enough yet to know how far back it actually goes. The name on the charge means nothing to her. She types it into a search bar. Nothing useful comes up. A dead end that isn't really a dead end, just a name too generic to mean anything on its own. Her thumb hovers over the next page button, longer than it needs to. If you've ever caught yourself staring at a screen, not sure if you want the next page to explain everything or nothing at all, hit like right now, because that feeling is exactly where this one starts. She closes the tab before the shower stops. Dinner is normal. That's the strange part. Minyu talks about a client call that ran long, laughs at something he says himself, refills her glass without asking. Nothing about him looks like a man hiding something. Which is exactly what makes her ask. Hey, weird question. She keeps her eyes on her plate. There's a charge on the card I don't recognize. Recurring one, you know anything about it? A beat, just one, but she catches it. His fork stops halfway to his mouth, then keeps moving, like he caught himself catching himself. Probably the storage unit, he says. For my dad's stuff. I told you about that. He didn't tell her about that. Right, she says. I forgot. She hasn't forgotten anything. She just watches him go back to his food like the conversation is already over and lets him think it is. Under the table, her leg won't stop bouncing. Later, in bed, she doesn't sleep. She pulls up the account again under the covers, screen brightness low enough that he won't notice if he wakes up. Scrolls back. 6 months. 10. The charge is there every single time, same pattern, no storage unit fee she's ever seen listed that clean or that consistent. Storage units don't usually bill in round numbers. Beside her, Minyu shifts in his sleep, and she freezes like she's the one who's been caught. She doesn't confront him. Not yet. She just watches the ceiling and runs the timeline in her head, trying to remember when exactly he mentioned his dad needing help with anything. She can't remember him mentioning it at all. By the time the sun comes up, she hasn't slept, and she hasn't decided anything either, except that she's not going to keep pretending she didn't see it. The next call is to her sister. You're being paranoid, Priya says, but there's a pause before she says it. A half-second Mara clocks the same way she clocked Minyu's pause at dinner. Would you just look at it if you were me? I'd ask him directly, instead of building a case first. I did ask. He had an answer ready. That's not the same as him lying. No, Mara says slowly, but it's not the same as him telling the truth either. Priya doesn't argue with that. She just goes quiet, and the quiet lasts a little too long before she changes the subject. How's work? Priya says, too brightly, and Mara lets her change it, even though something about the timing sits wrong in her chest for the rest of the day. She doesn't think anything of it yet, not consciously, but she remembers it later, remembers exactly how fast her sister moved off the subject. 3 more days pass before she does anything about it. She spends them noticing things she used to walk past, the way Minyu angles his phone away from her when a text comes in, the way he takes calls in the garage now, door shut, voice too low to carry through the wall. None of it is proof of anything. She knows that. She tells herself that every single time she catches herself watching him a little too closely. On day 2, she almost asks him outright, standing in the kitchen with the words already in her mouth, and swallows them when he looks up and smiles at her like nothing in the world is wrong. On the 4th day, she prints the statement. 6 pages. Every instance of the charge circled in red, so many circles by the time she's done that the page looks bled on. She sets it on the kitchen table, where he'll see it the second he walks in. Then she sits down across from the empty chair and waits. He sees it the second he walks in. His keys don't make it to the bowl. They just stop in his hand, hovering, like the sound of them landing might make this more real than it already is. What's this? It isn't a question, not really. You tell me, Mara says. He picks up the pages, doesn't sit down, reads them standing, like sitting would mean something he's not ready to admit yet. The silence stretches long enough that Mara starts building the version of this in her head. A name, a face, someone else. She's already decided what she's going to say when he confirms it. Her hands are flat on the table so he can't see them shaking. Then he sets the pages down and says something that isn't in any version she built. It's my dad's account. I've been covering it. Covering what? His debt. Minyu rubs a hand across his jaw, won't meet her eyes. He borrowed against the house 2 years ago. Bad deal, worse interest. If I stop paying, he loses it. Mara doesn't move. You've been paying your father's debt, out of our account, for a year. Longer than that. The number lands harder than the fact itself. And you didn't think that was something I needed to know. I didn't want you carrying it. It's not your problem to fix. It's not my problem, she says, and her voice cracks in a way she hates. Until it's on a statement I have to explain to myself at midnight, wondering if you're seeing someone. That lands harder than she means it to. She sees it land, sees him flinch like she hit him. You thought I was cheating. I thought a lot of things, because you gave me nothing to think instead. He doesn't answer that right away. When he does, his voice is quieter, smaller than she's heard it in years. I was trying to protect you from it. You decided that for me, Mara says. That's not protection. That's you deciding what I'm allowed to know about my own life. He doesn't have an answer for that one either. The kitchen just sits there, quiet, both of them looking at 6 pages of red circles instead of each other. She doesn't sleep in the guest room. She doesn't leave. She just sits at the kitchen table long after he's gone upstairs, staring at the same pages that don't feel like evidence of an affair anymore. They feel like evidence of something slower. A year of small decisions, made without her, about a life she thought was shared. She picks up her phone and calls Priya, not because she wants advice, because she needs to say it out loud to someone before it turns into something she can't take back. It's his dad's debt, she says. That's the whole thing. There's a pause on the other end, the same half-second pause from before, except this time it doesn't stop. Myra. What? I think I knew about that. The kitchen goes very quiet. Mara can hear her own pulse. What do you mean, you knew? He mentioned it to me a while back, asked me not to say anything, said he'd tell you when it was under control. How long is a while back? Priya doesn't answer right away, and the not answering is an answer. Months, she finally says. Mara doesn't yell. She's too tired to yell. She just says, "You let me think I was losing my mind," and hangs up before Priya can explain the reasoning she already knows is coming, that she didn't want to start something, that it wasn't her secret to tell, that she thought it would resolve itself before it mattered. It mattered the entire time. It mattered every single day she spent thinking she was imagining things. If you've ever found out the person defending you the loudest was the one keeping the secret, comment Priya below, because we need to know how many of you have lived this exact betrayal. Neither of them sleeps well that night. Mara hears Minyu come down around 2, hears the fridge open and close without anything being taken out of it. He doesn't come into the living room where she's sitting. She doesn't call him in. She sits with the silence instead of filling it, lets herself feel exactly as angry and exactly as tired as she actually is, without performing either one for anybody. By morning, nothing is resolved, but something has shifted. She makes coffee. He comes downstairs already dressed, like he's been awake for hours deciding what to say. I'm not going to pretend the debt thing was the right call, he says. I should have told you before it got this far. You should have told me before I circled it in red like a stranger's bank statement. He doesn't defend himself. That, at least, she notices, and it's the first thing all week that doesn't make her want to throw something. What happens now? He asks. She's thought about this most of the night. Not the dramatic version, not packing a bag, not the version where she says something she can't take back. The quieter version. The one that actually changes something. I'm opening my own account, she says. Separate from ours, not because I'm leaving, because I'm done finding things out by accident. He nods slowly, like he understands it's not a punishment. It's a boundary. And Priya. I don't know yet, Myra says. That one's going to take longer. A week later, she sits down with a new bank app, her name only, first deposit already sitting in the account. She doesn't tell Minu the balance. She doesn't hide it from him either. It just exists now, quietly, the way honesty is supposed to. She still checks the joint statement every month. Habit, mostly. The charge for his father's debt is still there, same amount, same day. But now it has a name attached to it that isn't a mystery anymore. What changed wasn't the money. It was never really about the money. It was the year she spent not knowing what she didn't know, and the version of her marriage that existed only because she hadn't looked closely enough to see the gaps in it. She knows now. That's the part that stays with her. Not the anger, not even the debt. Just the fact that trust, once you've had to go looking for it, never quite settles the same way again. Some nights, she still opens the joint account out of habit. Before she remembers, she doesn't have to brace herself anymore. If you've ever found something you weren't supposed to see, a message, a receipt, a line on a statement that didn't add up, you already know the moment I'm talking about. The one right before you decide whether to ask or whether to keep pretending you didn't notice. Tell me in the comments where you were standing when it happened to you. I read every single one, and honestly, some of your stories are the reason I keep making these. If this one kept you watching until the end, hit subscribe, because the next story starts exactly the same way this one did. Quiet, ordinary, right up until it isn't. And like this video before you go, so it reaches someone else who needs to hear it tonight.